Hello guys, today we will be discussing about software testing. What is software testing, tools, techniques, and terminologies under software testing. So let's begin. When you want to develop a software, there is a universal rule or a life cycle, which is software development life cycle, which is being followed. So testing is one of the phase or step under SDLC. Certain steps under SDLC involves planning, designing, then development, testing, and then deployment after approval of client. You can also count it as a process which helps you to verify that a software is doing what it has to do or what it was designed to do. Testing also helps to find out hidden bugs which goes unseen when a product is being developed. And there are certain quality assurance engineers which does the work of software testing. It also helps in reducing cost of development. There are various types of testing which are being performed on a software. We'll look into each one of it in detail. So software testing consists of two types. One is manual, another is automation. Now manual is done by a quality assurance engineer, whereas automation is done using a software. Certain limitations or certain limitations are there under manual testing, but still it is proven to be effective. What are different types under manual testing? I have mentioned it here. We'll look into it one by one. White box testing is nothing but testing the internal or the integrated parts of a software, whereas black box is looking from the outside when a product is under deployment state. Now, white box testing is testing of each and every functionality which is known to the tester by default or with the help of all the requirement documents, whereas black box testing can be considered as which is unknown to the person who is testing. He's just looking to the environment. Under black box testing, there are two types. One is functional and another is non-functional. Functional includes unit, integration, and system. Unit means you're taking one particular submodule from a huge system and testing it. For example, login, you're checking that you're able to log in into an application or not. That could be considered as unit testing. Integration testing, on the other hand, is testing the complete scenario that a user is coming into the application, he's loading it, he is registering himself, and then he's trying to log in and then he sees up the home screen. That is integration. And system is where you do a complete process. Let's say, for example, you're testing an e-commerce application. So you register, you log in, you go to the home screen, you search products, you add those products to your cart, you make final payment, and once your payment is done, you start tracking the order until and unless it is received to you at your home. That whole process could be considered as testing the whole system. Now, what is non-functional testing? Non-functional is basically checking how the application or your software is performing under given conditions. For example, if too much load is being applied, if too much latency is there in your application, that application will be will receive a negative feedback, whereas an application which is running smoothly without lags or without any latency could be considered as a good application. Compatibility. Now, each and every application has to be compatible with devices. For example, let's say Facebook. Facebook looks exactly similar whether you look at from website or where you look at from your mobile devices, either Android or iOS. It looks exactly similar everywhere. That is what we call it as being compatible. Wherever you load it, it will look similar. And each and every application needs to be compatible. Now, automation testing is done using many different software softwares and tools. For example, Selenium for web testing and APM for mobile application testing. Now, once you have decided to test a particular software, you need to choose the perfect tool for it. Now, in market, there are several tools available, few of which I have listed. One is Jira. Jira helps you to write sprints in the form of epics and stories. Also, you can raise an issue or a bug over Jira, which could be viewed or tagged to responsible developer or your team worker. Bugzilla, Redmine, and GitLab are also used for issues and reports generation of testing. Excel sheets are also used for sending and creating test details and for tracking down reports. Now, under testing, there are certain terminologies which we come across. Now, before we start or talk about testing an application, we need a strategy that how we are going to target out a huge application. So each application is then broken down into several modules, and then those several modules are then further broken down into sub modules, and that is how you test each and everything with the help of a strategy. Now, test plan. For a client, you need to present a test plan and an estimation that this particular module is going to take 50 hours of testing, and then this particular module is going to take 100 hours of testing. That is how you come up with a plan and you try to target the whole application within a given time frame. Test environment. For example, if you want to test a website, you need a laptop or a computer system to test it. Whereas if you want to test a mobile application, you'll need either an Android device or a emulator, or an iOS device. That is your test environment. Now, test suite consists of test scenarios and test cases. A test scenario is nothing but checking out a submodule out of your complete system. Submodule could be you're checking if your login is working properly. So your login becomes a scenario. Now, what is a test case? Test case are certain by default definitions which you give or write in order to examine if the product is working properly. Test case could be, for example, for a login scenario would be checking if user is able to log in properly to the application, yes or no. It will be either a positive approach or a negative approach. Positive approach means you're writing a proper email address and a password, which will in result help you to log into the application. Whereas a negative approach will be typing an incorrect password and email ID and you're trying to log in. In that case, your result will be a fail. So in this manner, you prepared multiple test cases for one scenario. What is test data? Test data is nothing but, for example, if you're writing a test case, if you want to test a particular case, you need data. For example, for login, you need email ID and password. That is your test data. Now, once your testing is done, what will be delivered to the client? One will be your test strategy, which will be given in the beginning of your testing plan has started, or before you actually start the whole process of testing. You give out this strategy plan to the stakeholders, and once it is approved by your stakeholders and by your manager, it then goes to the client. Your test plan is also delivered to the client that how much efforts one particular module is going to require, and that is how testing cost is decided. Once the testing is done and after deployment, you give the client the test scenarios and cases available. You also give the efforts estimation report to the client, whereas the testing execution and test summary reports are also provided to the client. A proper user guide of how to use the application or how to test the application is also provided. Installation and uninstallation guides are also provided to the client. Then test status and weekly reports are also deliverable. I hope you guys have understood the basics of software testing. Keep in touch with us as we are going to share more details on testing and tech life.